Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's time to take the global stories that has made it to the front pages of our national dailies. And joining us to review the papers this morning is Professor KAMILU FAGE. He's from the Department of Political Science, BAYERO University, KANO. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, so we'll begin with the Daily Trust this morning. I don't want to go with the first story, the major headline. Let's just look at something else because it's Democracy Day in a few days, June 12. There's a story here that says, Democracy Day, President to address joint session of National Assembly. But that's not what we're looking at. I want to first get your take on democracy in Nigeria. I mean, it's been, since 1999 that we said we've left the military rule and come into democracy. And this is over 25 years. But in fact, in this case, it would be 26 years because it was May 29, 1999. And here we are today in the span of 26 years. How do you think we've done, with our democracy in Nigeria? And if we haven't done so well, what are some things that you would have loved to see differently?
Yeah, actually, we haven't done so well. What I want to see and what everybody wants to see is for democracy to be responsive to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. Okay, the fact that we have the longest trial of democracy under this dispensation. This is not the first time we attempted to practice with democratic governance. And in fact, this is the first time that we are doing it. But if you combine the past 3 year attempts, they are not up to what we have now. But in terms of what actually is taking place, that is where we had a serious problem. One, if you look at it over the 26 years that we have, there has been what we can call, impunity. One basic element of democracy is the rule of law. Okay, but in Nigeria, over the 26 years, we have not seen that. Okay, as far as law is concerned, it is more on the poor people than on the powerful people. Okay, that is one thing. Secondly, if we look at the issue of corruption, it is perpetrated with also impunity, and that is also another major challenge. And now, most importantly, if you look at the fact that democracy is about people, it is a people's power, it is the people's wish, and now compare it with what happened. On a daily basis, the living conditions of Nigeria is deteriorating. So these are some of the things, and there is also a wave of insecurity, which in the history of Nigeria, we have not seen it like that. Okay, throughout the history of Nigeria, since it came into existence in 1914, to date, there has never been a time when Nigeria faces multiple security challenges at the same time, more than the current time that we are in.
I mean, I love the fact that you've highlighted all of these challenges that we've seen so far. And we just hope that, in the next 25 years, that's not going to be the same story. Because I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and one of the things we spoke about was electricity. And I'm like, imagine when we have kids, 10, 15, 20 years. I hope they're not going to be singing the same song that, oh my God, there is no power, there's no electricity. But guess what? Since 1960, we're still here, and we're still saying there's no power, there's no electricity. So I hope that all the key sectors, especially when it comes to security, we're not still, crying about insecurity in a few years to come. But there's another story here on the Daily Trust that says, ACF to president, prioritize governance over re-election. And that's something that we've seen so far in Nigeria. Most times when people get into the government, what they're just thinking is their second term. And so they don't really put their efforts into governance at the time where they're there. What's your take on this? Because we're speaking about democracy going into June 12th, which is going to be Democracy Day in a few days. But what's your take on this story? The ACF to the president prioritize governance over re-election.
Yeah, actually, that there is some element of truth in that. You see, in all climes, there are period of politicking, there is a period of governance. Usually, given if you even take our own electoral laws, you know, the politicking process is supposed to be just 150 days before the actual election. But here we are midway through. We are now putting emphasis on the, election. Yeah, so you look at how this issue of defection, this issue of what, and so on, all endorsement. These are all elements of putting the cart before the horse. We are now putting emphasis on the election, and that has diverted the government attention, because whether we like it or not, if we look at it carefully, we see that the attention of the government is more on 2027 than delivering the dividends of democracy to Nigerians. Most issues have been ignored, and the emphasis is on this issue. And secondly, the fact that we put emphasis on the election now, it is terribly overheating the polity. Okay, look at what is happening now about the opposition trying to form a coalition, this one and so on. So unnecessarily, the attention of government and the attention of the people are being diverted. There is overheating of the policy. So I think what the ACF said is true. What the leadership ought to do is to focus on, delivering the dividends of democracy. And that is the most automatic way for them to win election. So by the time the government delivers, okay, you don't have to campaign seriously to get the people convinced. But now that you are calling sacrifice, doing this, and the people are feeling the pinch of it or the brunt of it, don't expect that if you go to 2027, you will get a free ride on the election. No matter the amount of the campaign, no matter the amount of endorsement, the election 2027, if you don't deliver now, is going to be between the leadership and the Nigerians. The Nigerians who are feeling the brunt of what is happening will now be facing the people they believe put them into the current crisis. So I think what the ACF said, yes, there is element of truth. The president and the government at all levels should focus on, governance rather than election at this particular time. After all, they are the leaders. They have to be seen to be in the forefront in terms of, of being the laws of the land.
Exactly, and I mean, they were elected for governance. They were elected to ensure that they put the right laws, the right policies, ensure the welfare of the people, the security of the people. So if we elected you for these reasons, then that's what you should be doing, not thinking of how you want to come back again. But I think most times it's always about, the gains, the monies that they can get from these offices. So they never want to relinquish power. It's almost like I need to grab it and keep it to myself for the longest time possible. But if we have the hearts of transformational leaders in Nigeria who want to do the governance bits, not caring if they're going to be re-elected or not, and to be honest, if you do the right thing, you would be re-elected, because people will say, yes, this man is working and we want him again and again, and even though it's only 2 terms you can do, but it's almost going to be like an automatic ticket for you. But I think it's important that our leaders know these things and ensure that governance is what is being prioritized instead of re-election. Now, speaking about re-election, the major story here on the Daily Trust says 2027 division in Tinubu's base. So, of course, it's about the cracks in the southwest base of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for 2027. I want to get your take on this, because you were just speaking about the defections and the campaign and whatnot. Your comments, please.
Yeah, you see, there's obviously going to be that internal crisis also, because by the time now you overblow the whole system and you have so many people coming, and they are coming not because of any ideological conviction. They are coming for their own personal interests. So there is going to be a clash of interests. Those who are the oldies in the parties and those who are coming in, there will be heavy fierce contestation as to who will get the ticket of the party. So I think the leaders ought to take a lesson from what happened. This is not the first time when we see, we saw this kind of endorsement, when we see this kind of the campaign and so on. Look at, even most recently, look at what happened with PDP. When PDP was in power, it was thinking that it has to be in office for over 60 years. But by the time they were 16 years old in power, all this internal contradiction began to surface more. And there was crisis, and so many of them, moved. They moved to form another party. Some formed the new PDP, and there will be crisis. So I think these are some of the things that our politicians ought to take a lesson. One thing with history is that if you don't learn from it, one will be condemned to repeat the same experience. So I think that is an issue which the politician, especially the leadership at top level, should be wary of.
All right. On the Nigerian Tribune, obviously, is talking about some projects that is being done by Nyesom Wike, and that's like the pictorial on that. But there are also other stories. So it says Tinubu to confer national honors on select lawmakers to attend National Assembly joint sitting, special joint sitting on Thursday. What's your take on this? National honors on select lawmakers, and of course, this is going to be on Democracy Day.
Yeah, you see, national honors are supposed to be real honors to the people who deserve it. Mm-hmm. But we are bastardizing the whole process. We select. Of course, I'm not saying I'm not seeing the list. I'm not saying that all those that the president is going to honor or not deserve, or they don't deserve it. Okay. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, you have national honors, you hold them close to your chest, and people who actually contribute to the national issue. That is why you give them. You just don't make it like the way things are happening now. In Nigeria, we seem to over-politicize everything. Look at the national honors, look at honorary degrees that we are issuing, look at the chieftaincy title that we are issuing. All these are things that we have bastardized. In the real sense, these are things that are supposed to be given to well-deserved people. Okay? And you hold it, but when we make it so much like this, in fact, I saw one clip which is not just like this, but if I can divert a little bit, that the Ghanaian higher education something has queried that people should not be parading this honorary degree and professorship and so on, that they will do, the system will disgrace them, they will come out and publish their names and so on. This is how we should regulate. This is what we should be doing with our national honors, okay? Not just giving it like that on political consideration, but we look at well-deserved people and give it to them.
Alrighty, let's look at the Business NG. So there's a story on the Business NG that says post-Eid, petrol may drop to 800 naira soon, and that is according to some marketers, and they're talking about the relief in the pump price that we may see. What's your take on this? I mean, we saw this product go over 1,000 naira, and everybody was complaining because it was a huge jump from about 500 and something naira to over 1,000. But now we've been seeing the little monies go off. So sometimes it's just about 5 naira or 10 naira. But knowing that 800 naira may just be, across the line in a few days or in a few weeks, what's your take on this?
Yeah, you see, we just have to cross our fingers and hope that it will work that way. Actually, even if we reduce, even if it is a kobo, it is something that will help Nigerians, given the current economic crisis. Okay. So, but if it will happen that it will come to that level, it's something that is good. But you know, one thing is, us in Nigeria, is that we have a huge bureaucracy that tend to staple everything that we have. And then there is also the issue of corruption. And there is issue of greed of the people to make quick and easy money from things. So my take is that we should cross our fingers and hope that it will be realistic.
Alrighty. There's a story that says federal government unveils new rail plan to link more cities. So of course, I was one of those people who said, I don't think the, Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway was the way to go. I mean, it's great, but a lot of times we're always fixated on roads, and we should look at alternative transport systems. And I was one of those people that just said railway would have been better. But seeing now that the federal government is unveiling plans for new rail to link more cities, what's your take, and what cities do you think needs a bit more linking right now?
Yeah, you see, actually, alternative roads, alternative transportation is a means of, promoting national development. If you look at even developed countries, they don't put emphasis on roads; they put emphasis on rail. Yeah. Okay, rail system. That is why you can move a lot of goods and the people cheap costs and a fast rate. Okay. But here we are, we kill what we had before, and now we are trying to say we are going to have it. But the problem is, with us, we have this tendency of white elephant project. I doubt it very much. I don't want to sound so skeptical. I doubt it very much that even if we have these things, that we are going to see it is going to be a reality. Money will be sunk in and will be pumped there, and at the end of it, it will be part of the ongoing abundant project. It will be something. And besides, it will be a way of huge corruption. Okay? So my take is that, yes, it is good for the government and for the people to establish, linkages between major cities and other cities. For example, if you look at all over the world, you don't have major airport in the capital. You have airport somewhere, international airport in other states, so that now you promote domestic airlines that will now convey people from big cities to the capital. But we are just putting everything. So what we are going to see probably is that even if this will happen, they will still do it in areas that are that don't deserve, that don't need it at a moment. Okay, Nigeria is wide, is vast, and you have 36 states. How do you now link these 36 states, and how do you maintain the existing one? Yeah. Most of the roads now this traffic. Okay. This trap, you see them everywhere, this is, so we don't maintain what we have, and now we are trying to embark on other new things. So I think, to me, there is a need for government to sit down and rethink how do we now make what we have viable, and how do we now, if we want to embark on new things, what are the priority areas that we are going to put emphasis on, instead of doing it over and over in areas that don't really deserve it. And this is what we have in political science. We say there is a development of underdevelopment. We develop areas that are more of this, like if we take it in versus urban versus rural areas, you see we put more emphasis on the urban areas and neglect the rural areas. The same thing, if you look at it, we develop most of state capitals and the federal capital at the expense of other areas. So I think there is a need for government to sit down, just not for political consideration, to put the thing and see how realistic is the plan.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and especially when you spoke about maintenance. That is so true, because we lack the maintenance culture in Nigeria, and that's why you see all of the roads are depleted. So we have all of this infrastructure, but we do not know how to maintain it. And I think that's something that we need to start to imbibe to ensure that what we have, we're taking care of it as much as possible. And then even the new ones that we're getting, it just keeps going on and on. So we cannot be spending so much on infrastructure and we just let them deplete or let them deteriorate over time. All right, let's look at this story that says land reforms key to urban growth and job creation, and that's according to Finance Minister Wale Ejun. So it says land reforms is the key to urban growth and job creation. Your comments, please.
Yeah, you see, land is a very, very vital element of the economy. But if you look at the way we have some of the laws and the practices are so archaic that we don't see the fruit, the element of that one. So I think it is a key thing, but I still have my own reservation that we can sit down and say we are going to do it, but we just after the plan, we just leave it like that. But actually, there is a high time. It is high time for us to look at our land policies and have a general reform. And when we are talking of land reform, we are not just talking about residential and commercial areas. Look at even the agricultural areas, okay, where we have, and we are still having a kind of a traditional way of farming, and we think we are going to, feed ourselves. So there has to be a holistic look at our land policies and so on. And there are some areas that once you start talking about that, they'll be talking of ancestral land. It is a traditional land, and they will not allow this. So at least by this time, we have to have a good, realistic land policy, and it has to be a justice. There has to be justice in that one. Look at what is happening in Abuja now. The actual owners of this, the indigenous people, have been displaced, and there isn't anything, to compensate to them appropriately, and they are moved into shanty towns and so on. So I think the land reform should be, as much as we want it, it has to be just and there.
All right, fantastic. Let's look at the last paper here. We have Nature News, and the leading story says World Environment Day 2025. It was on Thursday, the 5th of June. So it says World Environment Day 2025, Nigeria, Operation Zero Plastic Pollution. I know that in Lagos, we saw the ban of styrofoam, we saw the ban of, some of the plastic waste. And in fact, most supermarkets stopped giving out plastic bags because of this ban. And I don't know how, that went into the other parts of Nigeria, because of course, Lagos is not the entire Nigeria. But if we're looking at World Environment Day and looking at, sustainable ways to ensure that our ecosystem, still thrives for many years to come, what is your take on this, and how do you think we can get to that Operation Zero Plastic Pollution? Because most of the waterways are clogged up with this plastic. How can we ensure that we're saving our planet, come many years that we might see in the future?
Yeah, you see, we have to be realistic and honest. And we know that if we don't take proactive measures now, or we don't respond to it, we are just, postponing the inevitable. So what we ought to do is that the government has to look into the fact that, like you have said, Lagos is not only Nigeria, or Nigeria is not only Lagos. These issues here in Lagos are there, maybe perhaps in Abuja, but in other places, you don't see any attempt by the official at all levels of government to address this issue. So there has to be, a harmony, between all tiers of government to address this issue. And there has to be a serious campaign to enlighten the people that the dangers of having these issues. But when you just seem to can pump and leave everything there, we are not going to see the good result of it. So it has to be a holistic struggle, or if we can say a holistic war against these pollutants, if we can call them, which will involve not only the government at the federal level or in some states, but at all levels of the government. And at the same time, there has to be serious campaign and effort. Look at what we have been doing for years about tree planting. It has become just a ritual. Nothing happens about that. So unless we take things seriously and we stand by the policies, we will just be, like I said, postponing the inevitable.
Yeah. I think that's, pretty much spot on, and, the campaigns are important, sensitizing the people, because I know that a lot of people might just say, oh, you should recycle. That's what they do in other countries. But how about the people in the bus parks that, what they just do is take the nylon bags and toss it away and whatnot. So I think the campaign over the grassroots, like going to the grassroots and, sensitizing them about this and why it is important, would really help us in the long run. And, you were just speaking about tree planting. Here on the Nature News as well, there's NDDC launches tree planting for environmental sustainability. Do you have any comments on that before we wrap it up?
Yeah, like I said earlier on that tree planting is one of the surest way by which we can, establish the ecosystem. But we deforest more than what we plant.
Yeah.
Okay, there is deforestation, there is also desertification from the north and deforestation from the south, there is also erosion. All these are factors that we have, but we have to be serious actually in terms of this issue of tree planting, and like I said, we shouldn't make it like a ceremony. Like what we have here in the north is sometimes when the time come, they will go to school and give select some few children, give them about 1,000 trees or 100 trees, and then they plant it. And if they do it, nobody will look after them. Next year or within 2 months when you come, they are all dead. So I think we have to make it beyond the issue of ceremony. We have to be serious on the issue.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. This is how much we can take right now on this segment. We want to say thank you for coming, Professor. It's always a pleasure having you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Have a wonderful day, sir.
Same to you.
Right, we'll be speaking with Professor KAMILU FAGE. He's from the Department of Political Science, BAYERO University, KANO. And we've just been taking the global stories that made it to the front pages of our national dailies. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll be discussing the fact that states and local government owe about 4.09 trillion naira as CBN funding increases. Please stay with us.